It is Wednesday, my dudes, and you know what that means. It is time, once again, to revisit the Neptune Park, a park that I have built in Planet Coaster, and I'm continuing to build in this series. But this is a very special episode, because this episode is the first time that I can't finish a whole roller coaster in one episode. This roller coaster is like it took a long time to make, and I was getting to the point where I was editing it, so full disclosure, well, not full disclosure, but to provide some context introduction, I said when I built the roller coaster last week, I said if I ever did a two-part episode, I would declare it at the beginning, because it's one of my pet peeves that YouTubers do when they don't say it's going to be a two-part episode until you get to the very end and you're like, oh, well, I would have waited until it was all out, so I could have watched it at once. So just putting that out there in case you're a bit like me that just likes watching things at once. So there's your warning. I mean, don't close the video, just mute it and then minimize the window, because then I still get that watch time, you know? We can all help each other. Help each other. When I say help each other, I mean help me. But that's besides the point. As I said, in this episode, this is like the first time where a roller coaster's taken this long. I was editing it and I was like, okay, whilst I had no intention of making this two-part thing from the get-go, we're now at sort of 45, 50 minutes. If I make the footage any faster, it's going to get a bit sort of disorientating to watch. So I made the executive decision to split the episode into two. So yeah, the general sort of program of events for this ride. This episode, we're going to be building the track and some of the custom supports. And then in the second episode, we're going to be doing, we're doing some of the scenery in this episode as well. And then for the second episode, we're going to be doing the rest of the scenery, few modifications to the track, like the transfer track, the station, the queue line, and, you know, everything else around the roller coaster. So that's how we're going to be tackling this thing. So I feel like this episode is probably going to be the more interesting of the two, because it's actually building the roller coaster. You know, I've started doing this thing where I don't speed up the footage for building tracks as much as I do for the rest of like building scenery and stuff. So that might have been what dragged this episode out. But I think people responded. I think at the first time I did it was in the wooden episode, the wooden roller coaster episode, and people seemed to think it was quite a good pace to have. So that's what I stuck at. So and the other thing, so you can see this is kind of like, so last week's episode was the boomerang episode, and I said in that coaster really marked a level of detail in terms of scenery and sort of general theming that I've never really managed to do in my rides before. Well, this one is kind of the other side of that. It marks a level of detail in terms of the actual track design. Like, I spent a long time smoothing this out, looking at a lot of reference pictures to get the track kind of as realistic and smooth as possible. So I think I didn't do the I can't remember, I think it's the grapefruit technique, or I don't know, someone said it was called the grapefruit technique. I think because Silverette made a roller coaster called Grapefruit, in which he used the technique and kind of showed it to the masses, although he didn't actually invent the technique. For those that don't know, the grapefruit technique, or whatever it is it's called, is where you build the roller coaster in the 4-meter segment. So basically the smallest possible increments you can, you build it out like that. So it's a really rough, horrendous mess. And then you basically select 2 pieces of track at a time, press the smooth button, then select the next 2 pieces of track, press the smooth button, going around the entire roller coaster, so it takes absolutely ages. You repeat this process 8 times, so it takes hours and hours and hours to make a roller coaster. I mean, the results are you'll get a very, very smooth and realistic ride with good heart lining, but I mean, I feel like it's not that much worse to just do it the way I'm doing, where we're just kind of building it in the longer pieces, and I feel like it's less, not exploitative, but it's sort of less game breaky, or like I'm kind of using the tools in the game for their intended purpose. I'm not kind of exploiting it to make what would be a more realistic outcome. So it's not like it's cheating or anything. I mean, it's a single player game, who cares? But, you know, that's kind of the grapefruit technique, and I'm not doing it in this because I don't have the patience for that. I have a life that I'd like to get back to. I've got Kerbal Space Program missions to film, so I thought, I hope you'll see for yourself, or, you know, will agree with me when you see this layout in its entirety when it's finished, that it came out pretty nicely. I don't think there's many ways it could be improved, even if we did do the great grapefruit smoothing technique. But yeah, there's the intro to this video. Hope you guys are excited for what's to come. This is kind of like, this ride marks, so I'm waiting for a good shot. So you can see that mountain just there. Not mountain, like a hill. You know, hills aren't just funny, they're hilarious. No, I didn't really know what to do with that hill. It was kind of awkward. I did think about making a terrain coaster. In fact, I'm going to just splice at the footage here and show you the coaster that was going to be here. So you can see me building this thing here. Well, I can't see it. I'm still watching the time-lapse of making the hypercoaster, but I'm hoping that I've split the footage in the right place, and I'm showing you some footage of the ride that I did initially build, but then decided I didn't like it very much. Anyway, let's fade back now to the construction of the hypercoaster. Hopefully I've been talking about this one long enough where you could get a meaningful look at it. But wait, there's more. I then found this footage of another ride that I forgot I even built, but this was another idea for Hypercoaster on this spot. I'll just not talk. Oh, there we go. F to pay respects. I won't talk over the rest of the POV though. But wait, there's more. I forgot about this one as well. This was a stand-up coaster, I think. Unfortunately, there's no actual... I don't actually have a POV of me riding it. It's just lots of little segmented bits of the POV. It was kind of just a way of using that little patch of land that in between the river and the train track. But in the end, I wasn't really a big fan of how it turned out. But there's a little overshot of it there, so you can kind of see what it looked like. I think it was very nearly a good ride. There's just something about it I wasn't really a fan of, so I didn't end up keeping it. But there you go. There's another shot of what might have been in Neptune Park. But you know, we strive only for excellence at Lowne Aerospace that also builds theme parks, so we didn't go with it in the end. But anyway, do you guys like that sort of thing? By the way, I can showcase more kind of defunct roller coasters that didn't actually make it into the park, or just other things. There aren't many well, there are actually loads of times I built a roller coaster and then scrapped the whole thing. I mean, my God, the one after this one, no, the one after this one has gone through so many iterations. I've still not really come up with a design I'm happy with. I'd like it to be a giga coaster. I mean, this technically is a giga coaster as well, but in the style of basically a soft recreation of Intimidator 305. I don't know, if you just type in Intimidator roller coaster, you will see it. It's this big red thing. A sort of a soft recreation of that. Like, not a recreation per se, but the same sort of track layout where it's a big drop that goes into this very high intensity banked turn, and it doesn't really gain much altitude after that. It just sort of snakes its way along the ground, keeping very, very fast. Or maybe something like a launched coaster. A bit like the launched coaster I did in Crimson Tower, which is like a... the Enigma style launched coaster, but it's basically a terrain coaster. You can see we do a little bit of smoothing there, and that is generally the last bit of the track is yet to be kind of finalized. But other than that, that's the track all done. You can see, especially at 4 times accelerated speed, you can kind of hopefully get a nice impression of how smooth it is. I mean, there's still a little bit left to do. You can see me smoothing out that big turn there, but generally we've got a pretty good layout on our hands now. There's not a lot else that needs doing. So that's that. So that's time. This is about time in the video where we stop talking about the game and just start talking about what's going on in my life. And not much. Actually, there was a pretty sad moment today, guys. I would like your condolences. My DC Comics Superman coffee flask that has been by my side since 2015, which is not that long, all things considered. I dropped it on the floor, and it was a hard floor, and it cracked the plastic. It was a terrible cup. It was very badly made, but it was a Secret Santa present, so like it was a bit of sentimental value there. So I bought a new mug, and they're the sponsors of this video. No, they're not. I don't remember what it is. It's just one that was like fulfilled by Amazon or whatever Amazon does. Amazon, if you'd like to sponsor me and send me free stuff, then please let me know. Also, speaking of sponsors, I've been reached out. I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you this yet, but I talk about this sort of stuff all the time and have yet to get in trouble, so who cares? The company Cyma, they make drones, have reached out to me. Still haven't found a company that's willing to sponsor me that make chairs, but I'm getting there. They're going to send me a drone to review. I was a little bit anxious about it though, because the email was very badly worded and they're asking for all these details about me. So I might just set up a PO box and hey, you guys can then send me stuff. Or I'll just get it delivered to a friend I know that owns an industrial lot, so it's not actually my address going out. He didn't care, it's like a depot, so maybe I'll just get it shipped there. But there you go, drone videos might be on the horizon. I mean, like, I'd like to do a drone review anyway, but there's so many opportunities now. If I can have a drone, we could just experiment with it. I don't really know what I'd do. Maybe I'll just to convert my channel into a Casey Neistat clone like all vloggers do these days. So yeah, exciting times ahead. We may be doing more drone videos. If you guys have any ideas for drone video, let me know. It's like a folding drone. I guess they all fold, don't they? So don't know if that really means much, but yeah, excited about that. Speaking of camera equipment, I also today bought a dash cam. Because I've just had it. I had another near collision the other day, and now I actually have a car that I don't like. It's not like an amazing car, but it's a car that I kind of care about now. Like my old car was this 1995 Ford Fiesta. I don't care. It's so scratched up anyway. Who cares if it gets a little dent in it? But this one, I'm like, yeah, I just kind of want this one to stay nice. So it was this merge point, and this woman. So it's always people in their Audis that could barely see over the steering wheel, just starts drifting into me. I'm like, she's drifting. She's coming into my lane. So I just like slam on the brakes and flashed. No response whatsoever. She clearly has no idea what she's doing. It's always seems to be these people in these cars are just they're too powerful for them. Like these kids in Porsches and BMWs that just fly out of nowhere and nearly smash into you, or these people in like massive 4x4s with soccer mom cars, as you Americans call them, I think. But yeah, that kind of car, I'm just sick of it. I'm like, you know what? I'm just getting a dash cam, because when I did have my accident, someone hit the back of me, but they were still found to be equal fault between both parties because there was no dash cam footage and no witnesses came forward. So I guess someone crashing into the back of you is no longer a default to win state like I assumed it would be. So I spent £100 on a dash cam, but hopefully it's £100 of I'm paying for a peace of mind really more than anything. Back to the video. You can see here building some custom scenery. If you've ever heard of the roller coaster Fury 325, I'm sure it's not the only coaster that has a support system like this one, but I think it's the most iconic one that features a first drop support like this. It has this kind of, you can almost imagine the track continuing going straight down, and that sort of acts as the support. I can't really think of a good other way to describe it, but imagine if the track never stopped going down and leveling out, it instead carried on going to the ground. And that's basically what the supports for 325 look like for the first drop. And here I was just playing around with the colors, because if I'm committing to a complicated piece of custom scenery like this, I ought to decide on the track color now, and I went with red. Someone commented in my last video, I think it was my last video, where they said, is blue your favorite color because most of your roller coasters have blue track? No longer the case. Wait, actually no, not yet. Actually, do we have any other red coasters? Yeah, we do. We've got the single rail one. So now we have an equal number of red coasters as we do for blue coasters. I don't really have a bias towards blue or red. I feel like red in particular is quite a cool color for roller coasters because we associate red with being danger. And, yeah, we associate red with being danger. So it's like a fast and mean, it's blood as well. So, you might bleed on this roller coaster. I'm not sure what I'm trying to get across here, but, rage, angry colors. It's an intimidating color. You want to be intimidated by this coaster. Red. Also, it looks nice, doesn't it? So here's the top of the lift hill, top of the peak, that sort of thing. Just constructing out of these wooden pieces, try and give the illusion of a steel support system. Took a little time to get it lined up with the actual track itself, but I think I hope that it was a nice effect. I think it came together quite nicely, and then we can just do some more custom supportage for the rest of the track, which we are finishing off. Which we're finishing off there. Not much more to say about it, really. So yeah, there you go. Good. Nice little shot of the actual drop tower itself. So yes, during my free time when I'm not playing games, like when I'm waiting for a video to render or something, I don't really have much CPU power left or GPU power left to play video games. I've been watching a lot of YouTube, and I've been watching a lot of Summoning Salt. Is a rapidly becoming one of my favorite YouTubers. He documents kind of the history of speedruns for various games. I don't know why. I've always been interested in the idea of speedrunning. I've always kind of poo-pooed the whole speedrun thing where people use glitches, like say, oh wow, someone beat Ocarina of Time in 20 minutes. Oh, it's because he glitched through half the game. But after watching Summoning Salt's videos, I kind of have a new appreciation for the glitching speedruns. I'm like, oh, actually, it does take a lot of skill to do the glitching one. So it's kind of in my eyes a bit. But it's also like just the sheer dedication to a craft that some gamers have. Like there was one, well, I won't spoil any of the videos in case you guys want to watch it, which I highly recommend you do. But one of the videos, like, I won't say which game it was, but this guy was like, I think it took him like 27,000 attempts doing this one very small segment of a single game just to get, the optimum moveset down to break the world record. And it's just stuff like that. I'm also interested because Kerbal Space Program has a speedrunning category. The category that I would be interested in is a career mode. Start career mode, real time, so not in-game time or anything. Start career mode, land on every single planet and moon in the game, as in plant a flag on them, and return to the Kerbal Space Program in real time. So obviously you have to unlock, obviously it's career mode, so you've got to unlock all the funds and parts you'd need to do something like that. The current world record is just under 8 hours, so 7 hours, 56 minutes. I feel like I would be able to beat it. I don't really know that. I'd probably have to watch the current. Like, there's only 2 entries, right? So I'd probably have to watch them to see how people have optimized the early game, because I've never really played career mode. So I think the hardest part for me would be getting rapidly gaining the science to unlock the parts you need for the later missions. Like I think as I understand it correctly, after a while in career mode, money sort of becomes a non-issue. Like after a while, you have so many funds that it's only really the early game that funding is an issue. And you have to upgrade your arsenal as well. So maybe I'll just do the first run for a science playthrough, because I just don't really like career mode in Kerbal Space Program. It has a lot of grinding and missions that just aren't fun. I did think about doing a career mode, like a hardcore career mode playthrough on my channel, but I started out and I'd had 2 hours of footage and I just achieved barely anything because it is such a grind. And I wasn't even playing it wrong because I googled afterwards, it can't be this boring. Spoiler alert, it is that boring. It's just a massive grind. You get barely any science rewards, barely any funding rewards. You basically do the same missions again and again and again and again. And it's just, I don't think it makes for very good video content. So that's why I kind of abandoned that idea. But maybe I'll do a career playthrough at some point. But yeah, maybe I'll do a career playthrough on my channel just so I can get to grips with how career mode works. And then I'll try and attempt to speed run. But yeah, so I didn't want to talk about the video. Funny that, isn't it? Talking about the video for a second. I didn't want to do custom sports for the entire thing because I'm a busy person, And it's not like Planet Coaster is like RCT3 or any of the other roller coaster tycoon games where the sports are very, very unrealistic. I think for the most part, the Planet Coaster sports are pretty good in terms of their realism. There's not much to complain about in terms of the realistic aspect of them. I mean, yeah, there are a few bits here and there where you're like, that's probably not how the sport would work in real life. But generally, I'm quite happy with how the sports look, so I didn't really feel the need to custom support the entire thing. But obviously, sort of special support systems like the first drop on this coaster, and like when I eventually do my soft recreation of Intimidator, you kind of custom sports are the way to go. But I think generally, for the most part, the default sports are fine. This bit here, I probably should have custom supported this bit here, so I don't have to put this big goofy concrete structure underwater to mask the base of the supports, because I kind of wanted the supports to kind of terminate above water. I don't know if that's realistic or not, but it kind of looked cool, so I went with it based purely on that reason and that reason alone. Just did some custom sports here as well. In fact, I think I did just custom sport this side of the river, so I probably should have done it for the other side, but whatever. By this point, I was like, no one's going to really notice too much. It's not like I'm recording the construction of these and carefully talking about the entire thing and drawing everyone's attention to it. No, it's not like that at all, so didn't think it would matter too much. But this time around, I was like, yeah, let's just custom sport it and call it a day. So there you go, the custom sports there. And there's not much more to say about it, really. And in fact, just looking at my Sony Vegas timeline, we are approaching the 20-minute mark, which is where I was planning on cutting this episode off. So it's kind of good we padded it out using the POVs of the rides that I didn't show. So let's just show the POV of what we have so far here, so you have some sort of, gratifying way of ending this video. But you don't get sound, I'm afraid, because, you've got to save something for the next episode, and also because I wasn't recording sound. I was recording sound, but I listened to podcasts and stuff, so I think I was listening to a Red Letter Media episode of Half in the Bag at the time of this, and whilst it would be lovely to hear Mike's Closer's beautiful voice droning over this footage, I feel like I don't want to be, Actually, I can't think of a reason to justify not doing that because it's far better than my commentary, but I feel like there'd be something, it wouldn't be right, So I'll leave the footage here. might play some music over the rest of the POV, and then at the very end there'll be some links on screen to other stuff. You know how this goes. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week and the subsequent follow-up episode for the rest of this ride.